Best episode so far for me.
Yes, I would agree. I would say it finally feels like stuff's starting to get more interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of at one point was hoping that like shit was gonna start like kicking off big style, and it didn't quite. And I was like, okay, well, I'm intrigued. This is the first episode where I was like, okay, I feel a bit more invested in what's going on now. Like I'm a bit more intrigued into what these stories are.
It's so much easier to follow now that we've got through a little bit of like the world building and we're not jumping time. I feel like I can follow what's going so much easier now. The character name is still a big problem here. Okay. There's so many characters, and they all jump about, and like the problem is you'll get scenes where you have like 7 people sometimes. So even if they say a name, you don't all, and they kind of had this thing to make it feel more real. In all fairness, where people will kind of cut and talk over each other. So sometimes I don't know if when you've said the name, the next person to speak is the name you said, or if someone's cutting. And I'm just like, I'm really sure, but I'm following the story. But I'm just like, you know what? You are Mark Strong. You are an actor. You are an actor.
So after last week's episode, and we were talking about this, I was like, I'm gonna just go figure out, because I was also, my brain's like, I did this with House of Dragon and Game of Thrones of like, oh, how does this family here then link on to the families we know in Game of Thrones? Now in this, I'm like, okay, how are these houses? Because we were trying to work that out with the flashback stuff. Like, how did that then lead to where the houses are in Dune? So the Emperor in Prophecy is still House Corino, I think it's called, which is the same as the Emperor in Dune.
Yes.
So that's still the same house. So in my brain now, I'm like, okay, that is still the Emperor house that we know as the Emperor house in Dune. This is probably his grandfather or something, great-grandfather, what before that. We obviously have House Harkonnen, which is...
Have very little power at the minute.
Yes, just the cousin to the mother superior, and the uncle who is a brutal way to
the line that gagged me in this episode, and I literally had to rewind to make sure I heard it right. She was like, "Oh, it's so sad that your ailments have been punishing you for so long." I'm like, did she just say she wishes he was dead in like a really weird, caring way? Yeah. So I rewound it. I was like, she's absolutely just said, "I wish you fucking would die already," which is amazing.
Did you also notice with like the way that she sort of killed him? She purposefully led him round in a loop back to where he started, so that by that point he would be desperate and he falls off his chair towards the table. She puts the thing back on the table to make it look like he was just in his chair, needed his inhaler, and tried to crawl to it and die. Like, if he'd fallen like over by the doorway and the inhaler's on the table, it'd be like, well, this is weird. But she literally purposely kind of made it set up so it looks like he was just trying to crawl over to... which I noticed, like, as it zoomed out afterwards, you could see how it had relined up. And I was like, oh, the smart woman. But yeah, House Harkonnen, obviously, what we know of them in Dune, they are, like, running Arrakis.
You can see that like, the brutality of the Harkonnens comes from her. Like, the Harkonnens we go on to see in Dune is clearly as a result of the way she takes control of House Harkonnen and directs them.
And I think what we're going to see is how she now starts to influence her younger cousin and turn him into a more brutal... slowly give him the confidence and build him up. So yeah, now we're starting to see like, okay, House Harkonnen. So that's how I'm like, that's House Harkonnen. Then we've got Atreides. So from what I can work out is, obviously you got the swordsman as an Atreides.
Kieran. That's the only name I know, Kieran.
Yeah. So his dad, from what people seem to work out, is the one that got away from the flashback.
Got ya.
They were all Atreides, but obviously one was left alive. The name lives on. Apparently the Harkonnens and Atreides that blood feud goes on over and over again. They're
Yeah,
constantly getting fights. But yeah, House Atreides called Harkonnens cowards during the AI war,
got
which
ya.
is why they then got kind of shunned and pushed down. Um, so I think at this point, Atreides still are a strong force, which is why the Emperor's swordsman is an Atreides. This
Yeah, and also the
specific
Atreides will
Atreides,
still be very famous from the AI war, so they'll be just seen as
yeah.
a house of soldiers.
So I think that we were like the Atreides becoming rebellious, but I think it's just him. I think it's just
Got ya.
this lad, Kieran. That I think he's like young, hates the system, wants to radicalize.
I don't think I could relate to that at all.
Maybe he needs a lawyer called Mario. But yeah, I mean, this episode we got to see a lot of the council stuff. Like you say, it was a bit easier to follow because it was like all in one. I'm enjoyed that we're now starting to see a bit this like house politics more.
Yes, that's
Um,
more of what I was hoping for.
yeah, which is what we used to in Dune in the films. I really did think this rebel plot was going to actually go off.
Yeah,
Um, I wasn't prepared. I thought Desmond's gonna. We obviously saw that Desmond took initiative from the Emperor's wife to go hunt these AI suppliers.
yes.
I thought, oh, he'll catch some of the ones like the one that sold them that little robot. I wasn't expecting him to actually find their that main guy for the rebel plot with the
Yes. It was one of the ones where it felt like that was going to be a more ongoing plot point
yeah.
and less dealt with so quickly. I know obviously it left, oh, what's Kieran going to do now and stuff like that. But I was surprised it was a case of, oh, we're going to catch them and fucking execute them basically instantly.
Well, yeah, and it's like you've got to also then think Mother Superior's plan was clearly she knew, so she got the Harkonnen boy onto the council
Mm-hmm.
by using the truth speakers to influence the other lords and dukes.
Yeah.
They think, oh, we give him a spot. He's the one that like takes the chance of accusing the emperor, and if it goes wrong, it's just him that gets punished for. They think, oh, we're safe from it, but at least now we kind of maybe would get answers. But her plan is obviously to then she would catch this AI thing, essentially prove it, and then instantly skyrocket this lad up the
Because he's the
pecking
one who's
order.
called it out and it all makes sense. And oh
Yeah,
my god, he
and
must be
proved
so
it.
smart.
That all goes wrong because Desmond Hart's got his own plan, which I'm
Uh-huh.
enjoying this kind of he their little back and forth. She's trying to work him out. He doesn't like them, so he's trying to like ruin everything that they've built up.
I really enjoyed when he used his ability on the prisoners. The little kind of flash we got inside his head
Hmm.
of kind of like him reliving whatever the fuck happened to him
Yeah,
that
being eaten
allowed
by
him to
this
have this
sandworm.
ability, or whatever the fuck happened with the sandworm. I was
Yeah.
really interested by that.
I think we are going to eventually get an answer, but like
I
maybe
hope so.
towards the end. Um, I thought it was very interesting that essentially it rips him up, like it burns him up.
Yes. Really, really
Um,
curious
which
about that.
shows why him doing it to the young boy was probably less painful to him because it's small child, opposed to when he did it to the
Like 6 guys at once.
yeah. Um, I'd be intrigued to see how many more times he uses that. There's that's obviously setting up a this is a finite amount of
Yeah.
uses.
This isn't a get out of jail free card because it does so much damage to him. If they're surrounded by 100 people, he can't just burn them
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
It's a very clever way to put like a limit on it, so it's not just oh no, they've been caught by a fleet of generals.
mm,
He's just going to burn 12,000 soldiers.
it'll be yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Mother Superior figures that out. and kind of like
I
pushes
think she
him
kind
to
of has
essentially
to.
run out of charges on it. But then meanwhile, we've got the story getting juicier at the Sisterhood.
Yes,
The
the
group night,
group nightmare.
yeah, but the one sister who didn't have a nightmare,
Mm.
which is very suspicious to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why out of all of them is she the one that didn't have it?
Unless she was the one causing it.
See, I think it was to do with Annabeth that was in the little healing pod.
Yeah.
I think it was something with her going through what she was emanating it out and was affecting all the others.
Okay.
Because obviously she was being infused with like spice and going through
I
essentially the
mean,
awakening again.
that would make sense, but that wouldn't explain why it avoided someone.
Well, I'm wondering if there's like, so they all took an oath, didn't they? But what if she's not actually in her mind committed to the sisterhood?
Therefore, it's not.
So she's
Mm,
not kind of linked herself properly into it. I don't know. Or
maybe.
there's something special about why.
But
Um,
that was very interesting. I also thought the one scene that I really in this episode thought was cool as shit was when the older Benny Gesserit nun had them all like basically like meditating drawing,
oh,
and she was talking them through it to try and work
um,
out what they'd seen.
well, yeah, the Harkonnen sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like leading them through it. And then what? Yeah, because that was interesting. They all had a different start, which was obviously something to their fear. And then as soon as they all started drawing the sand tunes, I was like, oh shit, this is all linking up now.
Yeah,
And
that
we
was
obviously know
really
where it's
really cool.
going.
The way that scene built the tension
Mm,
and it sped up and the got that was a really cool scene.
yeah.
The show is starting to find its feet. I'm now since last week. I'm more confident now in what you said, or if we might have like a Breaking Bad type situation where it's a case of yes, the first season is slow, but once it gets going, it's worth it
Mm,
because it does seem like they have an idea here, but it's taken them 4 episodes to get the ball
yeah.
rolling.
And
I
we've
don't know
still
how
got
many
to
episodes season one is due to be. Is it 12?
possibly. I mean, yeah, I the ball feels like it's rolling now. This was definitely the most interesting episode. And yeah, I think we know the story with the council is obviously leading up to
Dune
how.
Prophecy is only 6 episodes.
Oh,
That is a misstep.
okay. Well, I can tell you now then, the next 2 episodes, we're going to get to a point where something is. I think we're going to end with a discovery of who Desmond Hart is by Mother Superior. Like something's
Yeah.
going to click. Some sort of a plot or some success to getting the Harkonnen guy higher up is going to work. And then the dream thing, it's going to be some. It's going to end on quite, I think, an impactful kind of cliffhanger of, oh, this is how Desmond Hart became who he is, or this is who he is. And then you've got the girl that is born twice again. This is the answer to the nightmare or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
But
think 6 episodes is very short for this sort of like a build up and
this
show.
this show is going to have me screaming at the top of my lungs that 6 episode seasons are fucking dumb again if it's not careful. Because what's the point of 6 episodes if you're going to pace it this slowly?
I mean, Game of Thrones season 1 was 10 episodes.
Yeah. 10 is a bare minimum. A bare minimum.
So yeah, that does surprise me. But yeah. Hopefully it like ends on a pretty good, impactful thing that we're like, okay, we do want a season 2.
Yes. But bearing in mind there's only 6 episodes, and after the first half, I was like 50-50 on if I
Mm.
even fucking liked it. That's not putting their best foot forward with the audience, is it? Which
No.
is a problem. Because they've only got 3 episodes now to get me to a point where I'm like, oh, I want season 2 instead of 5 or 7 episodes. which is a big difference.
Yeah.
And it is not how you start; it's how you finish with these kind of shows. But hopefully they can turn it into, like you said, something that's compelling enough that we finish episode 6 and we're like, right, season 2 now.
Yeah. Hopefully it gives us something we're like, oh, this is potential to be quite juicy.
Exactly.